Daniel, how much fun? Well, it's not really fun because it's a serious subject matter, but it seems like a fun story to be a part of, and especially to play Matthew. What was it like to be a part of this series?
Uh, you know, fun. Um, it was
It may
enjoyable.
not be the right. It may not
Yeah,
be
no,
the
I know
right
what you mean. I know what you
word.
mean. I know what you
Yeah.
mean. Um, it was gratifying on a lot of levels because it was nice to be a part of a story that meant so much to the country. The time around 9/11 was, it was the worst terrorist attack on American soil in our history, and then to have the anthrax attacks happen just weeks after that, it really led to you know a sense of fear and vulnerability and uncertainty that I'd never experienced as an American before. And I think being respectful to that experience that we all collectively went through, and then especially to the victims and the families of the victims who were affected. I thought it was made it an important story to tell.
And please tell us a little bit about your character, Matthewreicher.
He is a Korean American adoptee who started off with a background in science and then decided to go into the FBI. And he is part of the investigative team assigned to discovering the source of letters that were mailed that were laced with anthrax to politicians, to editors, and to news teams. Uh, that's Matthewreicher.
Yeah. And it's so crazy that it was only just a mere 20 years ago that this happened. And I remember it because I have family who work in the federal government. I worked at Staples Center at the time and here in the downtown LA, and they made us go through the catacombs and open up our mail outside because of it. What was it like to be a part and to really tell a story that maybe even in more detail than what was actually known at the time?
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it because I remembered some things about that time, but I certainly didn't know the depth of detail that I know now. And if the twists and turns that the investigation took were really, uh, I mean, stranger than fiction. That there really is an element of truth as being stranger than fiction here. So, just telling the story according to the facts, I think, is very compelling drama.
And that's the one thing that I really it as much of a drama it is, how much close to real life it also played, especially over the last year, and
Right.
coming out of a pandemic and having to face this 20 years later with a disease. What was it like to be on set, to be working on this while you're telling a story of the past, but yet we're going through it in the future?
Yeah, no, that irony was not lost on us.
Yeah.
Like we were definitely not just telling a story, but we were experiencing the story because we were in the throes of an extreme lockdown in Canada. There was we were in none of the retail shops were open, no restaurants were open for dine in, and we were in frigid weather too. So it really felt like we were under some sort of house arrest, which kind of fed to this feeling of what life is like in a pandemic. And because I, like you, during 2001, didn't open my mail for a couple of months because we were told that we shouldn't. And any kind of, I remember there were so many false alarms as well. People who thought they had powder in their mail, and you think about the amount of paranoia, fear, legitimate fear, and and the fertile ground to breed misinformation and conspiracy theories. All of that applied then as it does right now.
Yeah, and this is why I like National Geographic taking over these stories like this and having people like you act in them because it's great performances, great acting, great script, and they really show people the way and like what has happened and what has changed America, not just by these incidences happening. Uh, how do you feel like when you go into it and you're playing through it and you see the change that that one incident from 9/11, the Anthrax scare, and what we've seen going forward, especially in our lives today?
Well, it's not very different from how COVID has changed us. When
Mhm.
we stopped opening our mail, that was the first kind of foreshadowing of what was going to be the emergence of email in our everyday lives. And you think about the volume of mail now as opposed to then. It really shows you how life changed, and it was helped by those attacks in the same way that we're talking on Zoom right now as a result of another life-changing event. And our lives and the way we interact with one another is forever changed now. And to tell the stories of events that have this much significance, I think is is really not just interesting but important.
Mm, yeah. And final question for today. Uh, what can you tell our audience to get them to watch on the 28th? Because this is definitely a show everyone needs to watch.
I would say that you may think you know what happened during that time, and if you care, if you have any interest in, you know, such a significant event for our country, then tune in to learn what the real story was, because I'm pretty sure you're going to be surprised in the same way that a lot of us were.
Yeah, exactly. Daniel, great work on this as all your work is amazing in your
Thank you
field.
very much.
So thank
It's
you
been
so much. Really appreciate it.
right on. Thank you, Michael.
No
Take
problem.
care.
Thank you.